Modernization Project with DLI. And with me, I have Angie Andreessen, business analyst, and I have a couple members of ADR on the phone. I believe Richard Davis and Brian Mack. So we will be the ones facilitating and answering your questions here. Some housekeeping items as usual. Please put your comments and your questions in the chat, and we'll be able to respond to them. And then this meeting is recorded, so it will be posted, and you can review it later. With that, we'll get started on this answer hour. Agenda will follow the same as the previous agendas we had. We'll talk about the release we had last week. We will talk about some any known issues, and then we'll go through our question and answer session, and also talk about any other upcoming answer hours that we'll have in the future. And, this is always meant to be interactive, so feel free to put things in the chat as we go along, and then we'll just stop and have this. So a couple of things that we're seeing here that was fixed on the release. So the service of process designee is now displayed on the affidavits. That was something that wasn't happening and was causing some issues. So that is now happening. The service process designee not automatically pulling into the service list. So now they will be on that service list. If anybody has done one, you'll see that. And then unable to save unavailability in the calendar. That has been corrected. So we should see all those working as of last Thursday. So if you're seeing anything different today or yesterday, please let us know. And then what the known issues are. Angie? Okay. The known issues, hyperlinks to emails that direct to non-authorized page. Something we've worked on with some of our legal services folks and some members of the ADR unit. So we're working on a solution on that right now. We'll be able, hopefully, to announce some of those fixes in the upcoming weeks. Legal support enable to view or access all related attorneys' cases. Again, something that we are working on a solution for. Intermittent document uploading issues with some users and some documents. This is one, we know we have one firm in particular that's struggling with this issue. If anybody else is having this issue, we'd like to talk, because we might need to engage some of your IT folks, because we may have a firewall issue that's blocking some documents from being uploaded. And so we want to talk to your IT professionals on that. So we will, we know we have one that we're going to reach out to, but if anybody else is having that issue, please let us know. The review document button not functioning, duplicate emails for some users. We're looking into that, where if it's something where somebody signed up for multiple roles and they're getting dual emails, or if it's something else, we're looking into that. And then the locating WIDs. This is something that we've talked about, and this is how you do it. We have a link in there, so that's how you're able to locate the WID. So that's some of our known issues we have. And next page, Angie. So hopefully everybody's seen the Campus Central page. Is starting to get a lot more information on it. We've been putting in a lot of work on FAQs. So some FAQs were uploaded in there. We put our release notes on there. There's we've tried to really put a lot more information on there, so people don't have to contact the help desk, or don't have to wait for answer hours, or don't have to, try to find somebody at the department. So there is information there on, especially what was fixed, from last time. So if you're experiencing that behavior, you contact us, and we can go from there. I think it's been a point of emphasis, so that we have a page that everybody can go to and get into this. And so I just hope everybody's using it and finds it useful, because we'll be continuing to update and put more and more information on there as the weeks go on. Okay, with that, that was my short presentation, because like I said, I like to have questions and answers. Questions yet, Angie?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat quite yet. One thing that I did want to point out, just for any of you who are on the call, we are going to have, after this answer hour, a group admin answer hour specifically for legal group admins. So if for some reason you think you need to attend that one and you don't have it on your calendar, please just send a chat and I can forward it your way. But otherwise, it looks like nothing else that I'm seeing in the chat right now.
And while we have a moment, does Richard or Brian, do you have anything you want to say to the group?
Hi, Brad. This is Brian Mack. Just wanted to encourage people, as I think you're doing already, to let us know if they are having issues or concerns with the system. They think something might not be working as it should be. We do want to know about that so that we can work on it and get resolutions.
Thanks, Brian. I did just get a question about how to file a document. You should be able to file a document in any of the transactions that you are in, and it looks like Jeff, I'll reach out to you since you are in kind of a unique situation with your job. I'll reach out to you directly. If you wouldn't mind sending me an email, I'll go ahead and give you my email address in the chat.
Yeah, traditionally, to file documents, obviously, if you've created a dispute, or if you filed your medical request or rehab request, or any of the other, initiating disputes here at the department, you can always file on those disputes. And then, of course, if you're responding to those filings, or you have filings you need to do, you would do the same. So.
Thanks, Brad. Next question. Has there been any update to the WID request process? Last Friday, I called the help desk regarding a WID that was unavailable from searching the SSN and DOI, and I have not yet gotten a response.
As of right now, that is the process, and we do know that those help desk folks are the main intake for those requests, but they oftentimes have to source them out to people that need to read them, especially a situation if somebody doesn't have a WID in the system and it needs to be created. There's a special group of folks that have to do that. So what we can always do is, depending on how long the request has been out there, we can follow up with them, but they do get back to them. Once the help desk receives it, they send it on to the tier two folks that can actually take those actions. If it's creating an individual, then they will, get that information and get it back to you. So right now, because of the sheer number of, volume of calls and things that they're getting, we know that the tier two folks are actually a little backed up, and that's where we're seeing some deficiencies in getting, not deficiencies, but just kind of a lag time in getting that information back. And so, we're really working on it. We've added a number of new people into the tier two to try and help resolve that. But some of these actions that need to be taken, like creating an employee entity to create a WID, is a specialized group of folks that that's their business responsibility and their job. And so we do have to kind of take those in the order that they come in so we can process them.
Okay, next question. This person has filed 2 requests for guidance with an unreported work injury and is just wondering on the timeline for when she would receive a response, indicating that those claims are now in the system.
Sorry, Andrew, what was they filed, and it was an unreported injury?
Yes, it was the request for guidance with an unreported work injury. So essentially a claim shell initiation for a claim that we don't have.
Yeah, and
just
that's
wondering about the response time.
Yeah, that's some of that response time, like I said, kind of goes the same way as getting the request for a WID, but we do rely on the insurance carrier to actually file those with us. So I mean, there's always sometimes can always be a delay in getting that information from the carrier. So on those types of situations, I always give it, you got to think that we've got to get it, we got to process it, got to get it over to the carrier. The carrier then has to file it, and that's something that sometimes there's a delay. So I would give it, some time, and of course, you're always welcome to follow up to see what the status is on.
Thanks, Brad. Next question. One of my files indicates employee deceased. What's up with this, and how can I change the employee's address on the campus file? So for the first part of the question, I can answer that. There were a few things that migrated a little bit goofy on some of the serious injury claims. So we actually have a fix that'll be going out in our next release that corrects that. There's nothing that you all should have to worry about on your end. As far as changing the employee's address on the campus file, Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that that is something that would be done by the claim administrator.
That is correct.
So I would recommend contacting the claim admin, letting them know that your client's address has changed. Probably a good idea to do that anyway, just because they obviously would want to get their checks going to the right place. Next question, how far back is the backlog for taking action on requests for assistance? I filed a request on 11/13 and it's still in pending review. Do I just need to continue to be patient? I will have Richard or Brian address that. I'm not sure if Richard is on.
Hey, yeah, Angie, I was a bit late, but I am here. And I'm looking at Sheila's comment there. As a general rule, without a lot of detail there, I think that the last point is probably a valid one, an accurate one, regarding continued patience. Sheila, I would ask, and I'll send you a comment offline here. Maybe if you could give me a little bit more guidance here around what it is that you're looking for. Potentially, that's something I might be able to help you out with or provide some additional assistance. But in the spirit of what Brad mentioned previously, the help desk is, just doing their level best to provide support across the spectrum here. So I do ask as a general rule that we just be patient with them for these sorts of inquiries. But Sheila, I will connect with you directly to see if there's something I can do maybe to be of further assistance.
Thank you, Richard. Next question. We are receiving the email notices that a new document is available to all of our service of process designees. However, we are unable to open the document. We know it's a known issue. However, is there a workaround or someone that we can call in order for us to identify who the case is on? If you are unable to identify the case, you can send an email to the help desk. You can contact me or Brian. Or ADR, someone should be able to look that up for you. That is something that should be resolved, I believe, in our Thursday evening release. Is that correct, Brad?
Yeah, I know we were finalizing the requirements on it, so that's our goal, is to get it in Thursday. But I want to make sure that the requirements are done and we can get that development done today. Yeah, it either be this week or the next.
Great, thank you. Is there an option for filing a rehab response / medical response yet? I've filed them under other for now. I believe that you should be able to file it to the response. That should be an option now. If you're not seeing that, it's possible that the case is closed. And if you wouldn't mind, if you want to send over just some files where maybe you're not seeing that, I can take a look at those and Brian can take a look as well. Next one, we're still not seeing new documents or events in the boxes on the main dashboard. I know that that was something that we were working on. So hang tight on that one, Tina. Next, I've e-filed our retainers and that helped give me access to new client files. Do I also need to file a specific NOA or is my retainer enough? In the past, I filed a separate NOA. Richard or Brian, feel free to step in, but my understanding is if you file that NOA web form and you upload your retainer, that should be sufficient, as the NOA document would be created off of that web form.
That's what I think too, Angie. This is Brian.
Great.
I'll also throw out there, this is Brian again, I'll also throw out there that Aaron Fredrickson, I see, is on this call, and he's another one of our arbitrators, mediators at the ADR unit. Aaron's working also a lot with campus, and so you guys can reach out, anyone can reach out to Aaron directly also.
Wonderful, thank you, Brian. This one, I have the opposite problem as Kelsey. I have a legal assistant who is marked in a relationship with me, but they are not receiving, and is listed as the service of process designee. It is not receiving notices. I am wondering if that is one of the issues that we fixed in our last release. Lisa, if you could send me an email with that information and let me know if you have received any of those in the last few days, that would be really helpful. Our attorneys are still running into issues where the specialists are not finding exhibits and documents filed on the case. Should we still be contacting Brian for those documents, finding where they were filed? Brian, is that something you can answer?
Sometimes documents might not be filed exactly where we might think they might be. As we all know, we have the employee page, we have the claim page, which is the injury page, and we have the dispute page, which is the specific dispute, the medical request or the rehab request. So even though we would expect documents are going to be found in the corresponding dispute page, sometimes, especially for migrated claims, the ones that means those pre-existing disputes, they might be in the claim screen. Sometimes they possibly in the employee screen. But if you do have difficulty finding those, then yeah, you can reach out to me or Aaron for that matter. Either of us can help do a little bit of Sherlock Holmes work and help.
Awesome, thanks, Brian. The next one, when we get emails from C-Track, we see all the people who the email went to. We get emails from campus that only list me as the recipient, even though I know the attorney, paralegal, and legal assistants are getting them as well. Can or would campus be able to show in the emails who is receiving them so the attorney does not need to forward every email to their staff because they don't know if their staff has received it? I think that that's a really good feedback item. That's something that we can take down and look into implementing possibly in the future. Right now, I'm not seeing anything else in the chat. Brian, Richard, or Brad, are there any questions that have come to you specifically or any other points that you'd like to talk through?
I don't have anything right now, Angie. This is Brian.
Okay.
And again, I apologize, Angie, for being a little bit late. I do just want to use this opportunity again to, express gratitude, appreciation for help desk staff, and then certainly for folks like Brian Mack, Aaron Fredrickson, who we mentioned, both part of the ADR unit at DLI, who do a really, really good job providing guidance, answering questions, and as Brian made mention of, doing some Sherlock Holmes type investigating of issues as they arise. Those folks have done, I think, a great job of providing assistance during this transition time. So kudos to them, and we just ask that you would continue to work with us. Be patient with us as we get campus up and running.
Thanks, Richard. I have a couple questions here just regarding information in emails. Brad, if you wouldn't mind answering these. Just a question as to why we can't have the last name or the full WID in the emails. It looks like all that they're seeing is a document number. And obviously we've got the outstanding issue of the not authorized. Is it possible, or has there been any movement on adding either the full WID or the last name to those emails?
At this time, we're taking suggestions down, and we'll run that through the appropriate channels. The decisions of what can be contained in the emails going outbound, does go into does have to be run by our data practices group, and obviously our security team at the department. And so, obviously we'll take down the feedback. We have taken it down. It's not like we haven't taken this down. We're looking into it to see if there's anything, any other information that we could put in there that we could contain more for you. But at this time, we are still in that evaluation phase of that.
And then, Brad, there was just another question asking about timeline for feedback items and suggestions, how those are brought in or when they would be addressed.
So right now, I think we've all heard this, but I wanted to say we're trying to get the system to where we can get all these any bugs or things worked out so that everybody's able to file, and then we start to prioritize the feedback and say what gives us the most value, what do the groups want. We take it down and we put that in a log, and we're able to go through and start prioritizing it and working on it. So we are going to do our first cycle of feedback. It's not related to the insurance to the legal community as much as it's related to the claims filing community, where there's been some issues with some of the requirements that we were asking for information on claims that's not out, that they're not able to get, things of that nature. That'll be our first first cycle of doing those improvements, and that'll be at the end of January. We'll continue to take the feedback and prioritize it. And if there's something, that we can do or we need to do, for instance, the adding the service process designee as a party, that was something that we never thought of. So when it came up, it came up enough, and it was being enough of a blocker, we were able to include that in. But for right now, like I said, we're trying to get everybody stable and able to file and make sure everybody's data is accurate on their screens, and then we'll work on the improvements. So please keep giving us your suggestions, because they don't get lost. We do document them and prioritize them.
Then, Brad, there's just a question just saying that they've been providing feedback for a month, and there hasn't really been any updates. Is it possible for us to provide some updates on the suggestions and feedback other than what you just mentioned?
So, Angie, let me weigh in on this one here. This is Richard. I'll take this one in lieu of Brad. Ellie, thank you for sharing that. One of the things, I think it's not exclusive to campus. It's really it's about just project management in general. Maybe you could even say project management in the government space in particular. But I do think that one of the challenges that we have is, during the course of a day where we do capture and get a lot of feedback, a lot of commentary, a lot of suggestions, it can be difficult at times for people to know that we are closing the loop, or it's difficult for us to close the loop to make folks aware of how we are taking the feedback that we get and putting it into practice. One thing I do want to say without any hesitation is that the feedback has been acted on. There are a number, probably I'd say in the three digits now, of updates, improvements, what have you, to the system. Many of those updates and improvements have been directly driven by feedback and commentary from folks like yourselves on this call and this venue, emails, what have you, and those bugs that are being then written up by folks like Brian, like Aaron, and others, and they get incorporated into the system. So I just want to make sure that people understand, and as clearly as I possibly can say this, what the tech folks, the project team like Brad, like Angie, and some of our other people are doing is very much rooted in taking that feedback, those comments, what have you, and going and putting these things into practice, taking that next step to make sure that the system is working better, hopefully being more efficient, what have you. It's a process, but it would be inaccurate to say that the feedback, the suggestions, the comments that that you've given us and that we've heard from you have not been acted on. I do think that we can do a better job of making sure that you know that we're acting on it. And not sure, Brad, if you guys covered, some of the FAQs that have gone up or the release notes that have gone out. But that's very much in the spirit of us wanting to make sure that we do close the loop on a more consistent basis so that people have an appreciation for, what's being done, each day, each week, what have you. So I just want to make sure that we address that. I think it's a good point that you're making, Ellie. And this is one of those instances where, just in terms of being better project managers, better communicators, we can and should ensure that you see and hear that your comments are being acted on. And if we haven't done it yet, maybe we're a little bit late to the party, but you can darn well believe that we are listening and that we are acting on the suggestions and the improvement ideas that are being generated. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. So just wanted to recap. I know there's a few pieces of information that everybody asked if we could take a look at adding them to the emails. And as Brad said, that's kind of a security and legal thing tied together. I will make sure that we've got those listed. So it looks like last name would be helpful. Date of injury would be helpful, and WID is what I'm seeing in the chat. Kelsey, so feedback that I provided previously is that it would be beneficial if the service of process was more of an individual attorney assistant rather than one or two people. That is something I know that I've personally documented, Kelsey, so I know that that is on the list of things to look at. And then just a side note, I've seen an improvement, and I think the communication weekly update calls are extremely helpful. You guys have done a great job in trying to mitigate the issues. I appreciate the calls specifically to our office. So thank you for that feedback. Obviously, if you have questions or want to meet with us, we want to hear the issues and want to talk to you all. So keep us in the loop. On the calendar, I noticed OAH events show up when I go to add the attorney's calendar items, but nothing shows up for DLI events. Are those supposed to show up on the calendars? So Gail, that may be the events that you may not be seeing could be events that were created prior to campus. It's my understanding that those did not those were not migrated since they were just done on paper previously. In the future, those should be showing up on your calendars. If you want to send me an example of one that you're not seeing on your calendar, I can let you know if that's the case. All right. So I think kind of a final item, and I'll keep an eye on the chat just in case anything else comes up here. We have our calendar for answer hours for this week. So as you can see, obviously next week is a holiday week, and the following. Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that we will not be holding answer hours the next few weeks just due to the holiday schedule. We plan to resume those on the 4th, the week of the 4th.
Yeah, that's it's based on some feedback we've gotten from the community that a lot of people may not be in the office and, trying to work around the holiday schedule. So that is we will start them on the 4th again. It doesn't mean we're stopping work. We are still doing a release on this Thursday, and we're doing a release next week. It will be down on Tuesday to take in some of this to try and clear blockers for you. But yeah, the answer hours themselves will start on the 4th. We obviously will still be available. We'll have a crew on my side, and DLI always has holiday staffing. Obviously not on the actual holiday, but we do always have staffing, through that week that is a little bit lighter as far as activity. but yeah, we will make sure that we are available and that we can respond to questions and everything, but we won't have any answer hours.
Thanks, Brad. So just to recap, it looks like we are at 12:30. I know I had a few of you send me some emails, so I do see those in my inbox, so thank you so much for sending those over. If there are any other questions or feedback in the next few weeks when we're not holding these answer hours, please send those to us. You can direct those either to the help desk, you can contact Brian, Richard, or myself as well, or Aaron. We can typically answer your questions, or if you see an issue, we may schedule a meeting with you just to look at your screen and see what's going on. Since the chat has kind of slowed, I think we can probably end this one a little early. And I know there's just a question, who's the best to contact? You can either contact myself or Brian. You can also contact the help desk. It will eventually get to one of us, likely. So if you want to email something, just be patient. We do have quite a few emails that we're working through, so it may take us a day or two sometimes to get to your email.
Yeah, and I had one ask for the group. So we have some tuning and performance that we're working on, and one of them is around the calendar where we're retrieving events off the OAH calendar. Sometimes we've been told it's so we do know that it is a large call, so it usually does take, like I said, 45 seconds to a minute to pull everything back. But we've got reports from people last week that said it was taking like 10 minutes to retrieve those events off that calendar. That if that's happening, can you please just note your user ID, the time it was happening, and whose calendar you were looking at? Send an email directly to Angie with that information, and that helps us troubleshoot, because we can look at the logs to see exactly what's going on with that data call that we're pulling back, so that trying to make sure that we're tuning that appropriately if that is coming up.
Awesome, thanks, Brad. Just to clarify, is there a law community answer hour tomorrow at 12? I believe that there was one on the calendar from way back. That one would have been canceled though and replaced with this one. I'll make sure that our communications department gets that off the website, as I don't have that on my own calendar. I don't see that, but I will have that removed from the website if it's there. Great. So again, thank you all so much for your time. These calls are extremely beneficial to us, and hopefully they're very beneficial to you all as well. And we will look forward to talking with you all in January. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.